Alright, on this tutorial we're going to cover how to model this little medical style pendant. This actually starts off as a revolve but is scaled so that it gets more of an oval shape with this, and then a lot of the rest of the tutorial will focus on adding in the details for this part. So let's get started. Once again, if you want to follow along, underneath Pendant D there's a start file there that you can go ahead and open up and use for your own tutorial. So we're starting off with this revolve shape. Okay, so underneath the create menu, go to revolve, select that profile, and then select the axis right there at that edge, and we get the basic shape. Now, one detail that helps to add in and make products more realistic is to put a parting line in. A lot of plastic parts will have that simply because if you're making these as two separate halves, you want to have something that gives a little bit of space so they don't match. So this one, when I did the sketch, I went ahead and cut that little detail in. Okay, so just be aware that's sitting there for as part of that. It gives that broken up edge look to it. Alright, so that creates the basic shape. Now, like I said, we're going to make this not oval like or circular like it is, but make it into an oval shape. Okay, so let's go back to the home view. Let's now go underneath modify, and it's the scale tool. Select the form, and then the point, you can move this around where you want to actually do the scaling. If it's not set to, it's usually uniform like that, so switch it to non-uniform, and then I think it's on the Y distance, we want to just elongate this a little bit. Okay, so 1.2 as far as the distance there, we'll do that elliptical shape out of this. Alright, that takes care of that. Let's add in some fillets. So click on this top edge and bottom edge so that we can make them consistent. Push this in a little bit, and we'll go to, let's say, 1.35 for the fillet radius. Okay, so that takes care of that. Now there's our basic shape. Before we do anything else, what we're going to do is actually offset this top face and make a surface out of it, so that later on we can actually use that surface to cut the buttons. So our buttons will have actually a sculpted shape to them so they follow the form. Okay, so let's switch over here to the patch tool. Actually, let me go ahead and hide the data panel there. And then we'll use under create is the offset, and you simply click on this top face. Now, one thing to be aware of, this sets the chain selection on automatically. So notice when I roll over it, it's picking that as well as like around the edge, and that's not going to allow us to do the offset properly. So turn that off, and once again, we only need that part. So and that's the base we want to offset from, and then just start pulling this up, and we'll say right about there, about 1 millimeter. Okay, now like I said, this is a patch. It has no thickness, and all we're going to use this for is a way to model or cut the top of the buttons down. Okay, so hit OK to that. Go underneath your bodies folder, and that patch, or it says body here, but it's actually a patch form that was created. Go ahead and just turn it off. We're going to come back to it later on. Okay. Alright, so now we're going to look at adding in this detail right there for the loop for strap to go into this. Okay, so we'll need to switch back to the model work environment. Underneath sketches, there's the original one. Here's the one for the necklace hole. Okay, turn that on. It's hard to see. It's actually on this layout. It's actually over here, and also it's not quite in the right position. So what we'll do is see if we can just grab it right at that center point and pull it down. Okay, nice thing about Fusion is it allows you to kind of adjust sketches and all without having to go into them and work on them. So that's good, because otherwise we wouldn't see what's there. Alright, we'll go with that. Yeah, so ends up the start file has kind of a flip version of all the details. Just be aware of that as we do this. Alright, now click on extrude, pick that profile shape, pull it up, and cut all the way through. Okay, good. That adds that detail in, and we'll keep with the cut operation. Hit OK. We'll add in a fillet. The radius of this fillet is going to be limited by that distance right there. Okay, so let me go push it in a little bit. And not going too big on this is probably good, so we'll keep it at 1 millimeter again. Alright, that takes care of that detail. Let's see what's next in our list here, the buttons. Actually, let me go ahead, go ahead and do the buttons. So turn that sketch on. Alright, now this is actually positioned above this. We're going to use this twice. First one is to cut holes out, and then we'll kind of come up from there. That we'll actually use to make the buttons. Okay, so once again, the extrude tool, select these 3 separate profiles and then start pulling down. Okay, notice when we get into the existing form there, it'll actually cut, so that's good. So about minus 2.13 for that detail. Alright, so there's our holes that we cut into this. Now let's go up from there and make our buttons. So we can actually hit create again, or extrude I should say, over here underneath the create menu. Now notice we can pick those faces in there to build off of and to pull upwards. Now one thing to be mindful of when we do this, and let's just go ahead and go way up to make sure we intersect that face, that surface that's there. We don't want to join. We actually want to make new bodies out of this. That way it's going to be a lot easier to assign materials and stuff to it later on. Hit OK. Alright, so that takes care of that. Now go back and bring back that body, which is the surface entity there. Okay, so we're going to use this to basically cut those 3 buttons that's there. This is underneath the modify menu, and we're going to use the split body. Okay, and let's see if we can select all 3 of these. Great. Splitting tool in this case is going to be the surface. And I'll extend it out a little bit. Okay, hit OK. Doesn't look like anything's different. Let's turn off that surface body, and then it's kind of hard to tell. You might want to click on here, you can see it, but there's now 2 halves to each one of these. Okay, so clicking on it and turning off the other, or turning it off in the bodies folder. So let's see, which one is that? There we go, that last one. Alright, so there's our 3 buttons, and once again they follow the profile shape there. Okay, very nicely done. Alright, now we'll add in some fillets around these edges. Get this going, so click there, and click there, and then push it down a little bit to add in those fillets. Alright, now for the display. This one's a little different because we want to keep kind of the piece that's the intersection between the 2. Okay, so here's the technique that works well with this. This shape, before we actually cut into it or do anything to it or find the intersection, we actually want to make a copy of it. Okay, so we'll go to copy and we'll paste it in. It'll be down here in the bottom. What we'll actually do, leave it where it is, hit OK, and then simply turn it off at this point. Okay, now I'm going to go in and turn on the sketch display. We'll first start with an actual cut into the form, just using, once again, the extrude tool there. So click on that, push it in. Now the key to this, as we push it in, is to make sure this goes in and we see an actual edge all the way around, okay? Because this is curved shape here at the top. We'll go ahead and put a specific value in, so it looks like maybe minus 2.3. Good. Alright, so we'll keep that. So that cuts in the hole. Alright, so that's what where we would put like the display for the actual medical device there. We'll turn this one off now. We'll go back in and turn the body, that's the copy, back on, which doesn't have anything in it now. We'll go back in and turn that same sketch back on. We'll do another extrude. Okay, we'll click on it. We'll pull down. We'll do the same distance. So make sure we put in there minus 2.3. Now the operation this time is going to be the intersect. And when you click it on, you see that's what's going to be left between the 2 of these. Okay, if we hit OK to that, now there's our display that we would assign like a class material to. So we can turn that sketch off. We can now bring back the original body, which has the cut into it. Okay, And real quick, let me do a section analysis just to show you. So I'll go over here, inspect, section analysis. Let's go in, find the vertical plane there. Okay, so you can see real quickly, here's our button cutout, that detail, there's this cutout, and that's a separate piece. Okay, so that was the technique. You start with the original one, copy, paste it back, turn it off, edit the original one, and bring it back, and then do the intersection to make that detail. Alright, so we'll turn off now the section analysis. And really, the last detail, and this is pretty simple, go turn on the speakers. Okay, and let's go look at the top view. Alright, like I said, this got kind of reoriented. So let's grab this one here, and we can pull this over and reposition it where we want. So this is just a sketch pattern that was made on the form there, or on a sketch, and I'm now going to use that and zoom up on that corner once again and extrude. Go through and pick all these profiles real quickly. Make sure I got everyone. Okay, it's jumped down, saw that there was a surface down there, assumed we want to cut into it. Now this one, what we can do, let's see if we can do something. So it's one-sided. We're going from the profile plane into the form there, and distance-wise, we can do to an object, like to the face. Okay, and then you can do an offset into that face. The reason why it kind of cuts into the form like that. Alright, so that's kind of the detail we want with that. We'll hit OK to that. There's our cut pattern. Hit fillet, and we can go around and click on the edges that are there as well to add a little fillet detail on these. And this will be really tiny that we'll end up with this. Alright, push it in just a little bit. Yeah, 0.105, something like that's good. Alright, so there's our details. Let me hit the home button. Okay, spin around so you can see there's our basic device that's made in now. Little details, we can move that around, adjust it, maybe move this around, adjust it as well, just to make sure everything kind of has its proper location and all with it, but that looks pretty good. So there's the basic way to model that medical device with using a Revolve first and do a non-proportional scaling, and then, like I said, one thing we did do is do an offset face and use that to cut the buttons so they follow the form. They're just not kind of planar at the top.